You've been listening to the True Cash Flow Podcast, where we show you our best strategies and techniques we implement to build streams of passive income online, generating millions of dollars in revenue last year alone. To get some of our free training videos, just go to truecashflow.com and we will send you our quick start guide for free.
Welcome back. We have another great show today. We just got back from China and we're really excited to talk to you guys all about China and talk about the benefits of not just going to China, because a lot of people will be very successful without ever going to China, but how you can leverage the contacts that we have in China to help grow your business right now without ever leaving the country. Now, a lot of you that are advanced, you've been selling products, you've done really well, or you're ready to find those next several products. People find, 80, 90, 100 products. One person found like 180, but amongst the group, there were over 1,000 products that were found while we were in China. And it was really exciting. So we want to talk to you guys about it and share some tips and strategies and techniques that you can implement right now to help you launch your own online business. You may never go to China. I've done it. This was my 8th trip. It was Saru's first time. So you'll get to hear from a first timer of going to China and kind of share the experience with us.
Well, I'm one for always traveling and seeing other countries, but this was definitely one of the best trips I've ever taken, not only because it's China, but it was really exciting to see so many products out there.
Yeah. And, China, it's like a lot of people think it's, like this crazy experience, but apart from the driving and the food, it doesn't seem like any different than any other big city in the world, except, it's super crowded. They drive ridiculously and don't plan on eating any food for a week. Yeah. It's, Saru was on the back of a moped, driving around, China. It was crazy, but, it was a lot of fun. And fun for me is being able to see so many cool products and, it's like everything's there in one place.
It's productive fun.
Yeah, to me, it's just seeing the products. It's like, a kid at Christmas, right? I can't wait to see what I'm going to find. And the anticipation of going to all the different manufacturers, touching the products, feeling them. Some of the cool stuff that we saw, it was like, we'd see 10 manufacturers in a row, because where we were, there's actually over 25,000 booths right there of all different manufacturers, all different products. And a lot of people don't realize that. It's like, imagine the biggest mall you've ever been to, and floor space, there's 6 kilometers of floor space, and it's all indoors, and it's manufacturers from all over China, and they all meet in this one area. So for us, we must have walked maybe 15 miles a day. It was just crazy, but it's like, you don't want to stop.
The group we were with too, it was great to meet everyone and, walk around and find different products and ideas. And I think the most exciting part about this whole entire trip was that we talk a lot about the first phase being creative, when you have to pick your first product, and this kind of eliminates that. You actually get to see the product and walk around and get different ideas, and then you go and implement that criteria.
Yeah. And for me, it's a great experience also, even though I've been there so many times, it's every single time I go, I have a different group of students. So when we mastermind at night, it's really cool to see what they found and help them investigate, and we go through the same steps, are the margins there? Can we compete? Is it a good quality product? We always want to know that. And that's what's really amazing about being there. And you could do all this, having products shipped to you, samples, all that stuff. It's just, it speeds everything up when you're right there. And I remember, we spent a couple hours just once we settled on a bunch of products, verifying the quality and going back to other manufacturers of the same one. The first 2 days, it was more like window shopping. We're finding out the price, what's the minimum order quantity, what's the, they call it the CB, you want to know how much space it takes so you can determine shipping. So it's like within 3 to 5 minutes, we already know if there's potential in that product. And then at night, being able to mastermind with all the other students and go through the criteria together and let people see not just the winners, but the losers and why they're losers and why that you might want to go after a different product based on all the criteria that we go through at the mastermind.
Right. I think one of the students, didn't they find like 300 products?
Yeah.
A list of 300 products after a couple of days. That's insane. So someone might be wondering what exactly it is that you look for.
Well, so what I'm looking for, so I'll have this dry erase board that's, about, 12, 15 inches wide, maybe about 10 inches high. And on there, I just write a couple things. I write MOQ, and that means minimum order quantity. So I want to know what's the minimum I have to order from that manufacturer and what's the price based on that MOQ. So I'll put MOQ, what's the price? I want to know the turnaround time, because I want to know how long is it going to take for the product to arrive to Amazon. I want to be able to forecast, okay, what's the manufacturing? And then in the next show, we're going to talk about shipping and the different methods for that. So I don't want to get too much into that right now, but I want to be able to ballpark what's the turnaround time to actually get it to Amazon. And then I want to know how much space does it take? So, you want to know how many pieces per carton. So I'll put pieces per carton, and then I'll want to know what's the size and the weight of the cartons. So that way I can kind of guess about what my shipping cost is going to be. So I know the all-inclusive price to go from China to land it, at the several warehouses, the hundreds, thousands of warehouses around the country, what it's going to cost me to get it to those warehouses. So once I do that, I take that whiteboard, I take the product, I take the card from the manufacturer, and I actually, as you know, the translators actually do this. I'm saying I do it, but we hire translators. So every single member of the inner circle has their own translator, right? And you had a great translator.
Oh, she was
working
great.
really hard.
She was really great.
And it was really good because all you do is you hand them the whiteboard as you did it, and they run around and you move on to the next booth. And when you see something you like, they catch up with you and you grab the product, you hand it to them. They get all the information for you because obviously they're fluent in Chinese. And your job is just to keep on finding the next product, the next product, the next product. And that's why when I say it's fun, it's not fun like going to Disneyland, but it's, fun if you enjoy this style of business where, you determine a product, the product makes sense. You know that you can either get packaging, which we've talked about, put your logo on it, make it your own, make it unique. You can bundle it as we've talked about, but doing it right then and there, that's one thing. But, if you guys are thinking like, oh, I can't go to China, I don't have the time to go to China, it's fine because if you go to our site, truecashflow.com, all you have to do is enter your first name and your email, and everyone who's in the inner circle, whether they go to China or not, gets full access to our entire support, our whole Rolodex of people that we work with, and we help you to alleviate a lot of the mistakes we made.
Right. And I really like the fact that it's so quick. You really get to, the whole entire process is so much quicker than just doing it from home, which you can still do. And I personally, I did it for a while, and it rather than waiting for samples and, then that not being right and then feeling obligated to kind of go along with that product that's not quite just right. I think it was a lot easier to see it in real time and feel the product and get the quotes and everything right up front.
Yeah, that's really is my favorite part. And that's why, we take students every 3 months. So in about 2.5 months, we're going back to China. And, that even for you, you'll be much more, it's like the first time it was like such a, eye-opening experience, right? Now you know what to expect. And, we had to have looked at hundreds of products. I mean, thousands we looked
absolutely.
at, but we just determined most that were most beneficial is what we really spent the time on, because I personally haven't even been to all, 25,000 booths yet. All these different, there's so many, and all these trips to China I've done, I still haven't even been through the entire thing, because what's really cool about it is it's all broken into districts, right? That was what was easy for us.
By category.
And it's like Amazon's categories, and we made a really cool map. So my designer made this really cool map that shows all of Amazon's categories, and then it shows where those are located in the market, which makes it so much easier. So you're not just walking around blindly. And then all the translators, they're really well versed. Every single translator has at least 2 years experience in the market. So they know where things are. They're familiar with different sections, what they specialize in. So the whole experience was so much fun. But we're not going again for about 2.5 months. So if you just want to be considered to join us, again, that is only by application. But the first thing you need to do is check out some of the training videos for free by going to truecashflow.com. Like I mentioned, you only enter your first name and your email address, and that's it. Check them out. If you feel like it's for you, then, feel free to apply. If you feel like it's not something that you're even interested in, it costs you nothing, right? You just check it out and see if it makes sense for you.
Right. And I feel like someone might be wondering if they're just starting out, if they should go to China. When do you go to China? What do you look for in the people that go?
Yeah, that's a good point because, some people think that, I'll do it once I'm experienced and once I'm up and running. But for me, right before I even started selling on Amazon, I actually went to China and I did it just in a crazy way. I didn't even know you needed a visa. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anywhere to go. I get on the plane, I land in China, and then I'm going through customs and they're like, well, where's your visa? And I'm like, oh, I have a US passport. And they're like, huh? Like, how'd you even get here with no visa? And I'm like, well, I read something online, right? It's always dangerous if you just read something online. And it said that you could do something called it was like 144-hour, which works out to like 6 days of like a transit visa. So I'm thinking okay, so I don't need a visa because I'll just go for 6 days. And then they told me, well, no, that's if you're going to a third party country. And I'm like, oh, but I'm already in China. So, they bring me into this room and I'm waiting in that room for 2 hours and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, no one's telling me anything in English. They just have me in this, not a holding cell like it's jail, but a room that I certainly couldn't leave from. They did have somebody standing by the door and they just kept telling me, the best they could explain that, just sit tight basically. And it was funny because then all of a sudden somebody came back and they're all sweaty and sure enough, and they had my passport, by the way. So you're not that comfortable when you're in China and they took your passport, but they weren't mad. They were just telling me I had to sit there. And all of a sudden they came back and they got me a visa and they charged me $100. But by the way, I don't recommend that.
I was going to say that doesn't always work.
No, yeah. I certainly would not recommend anyone do that. Now it's a fairly simple process. We even have a company that's been doing it for all the Inner Circle members where they'll actually go to the Chinese consulate for you. They'll get you the visa. And now I got approved for a 10-year multiple entry visa, which is cool because now I could just pick up and go to China anytime I want. And I've certainly taken advantage of it. So, and you could also go to the Chinese consulate yourself and you can get that visa and get it in person. In fact, there's one in LA and it's about, about a 3-4 hour affair that it'll take you to be able to get that Chinese visa. But, don't just show up. That's a good tip I can give you is, don't just show up because they were also telling me that, what hotels and stuff. And I didn't really have a plan. I knew that I was where I was staying initially, but I was just going to wing it. I went to the Health and Beauty Expo. I knew nothing about it. And I just showed up there and everyone thought I was crazy. They said, what's your plan? And I said, well, there is no plan, and, people tell me that all the time, what's the plan? And I'm like, I don't know what the plan is, but I do know I'm going to go to China. I do know that I'm going to figure this out. And it was the best experience ever because that's how I started and that's how I grew. So to answer your question, if it's something that you should do when you start, it depends on the person because some people are just all in. They know that this is for them. And that's how I felt. And I said, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go there. I know I'm going to figure it out. I don't need a plan. I'll figure it out. I promise,
I need a plan.
Yeah, you need a plan. So that's why it's good that you went as part of the group because then you had a plan.
Exactly.
And that was the best part of it.
It was a really smooth process. All of it from getting your visa to, getting to China and the hotels and bullet trains and everything. It was really so smooth.
Yeah. And I can't say every trip was smooth because the first time I brought a group there, it was I didn't know what to do. Yeah. Because, I'm like, hey guys, all I could tell you is I've been to China and I'm going to show you what I did. And, and it's like, oh my gosh, we're almost missing trains. And craziest story was, there was a long line and we all got into the bullet train. This was on the very first trip. And it was 2 minutes to boarding. And I have 15 people with me. And me and another guy, we just ran. Like, so me and him just ran to the train. We're like, we're going to hold this train, you know, and this was crazy. So remember and this was going back, right? So we had already been in China. And did I ever tell you this?
I think you may have mentioned.
Oh yeah. This was like, I tried to like block it out of my head because I'm like traumatized from it. It was so bad. But so
let's hear the story first.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, you know, me and another guy named Damon, if Damon's listening, you know, thanks for your help, by the way. So me and him are running, right? And so we run down the escalators and, you know, I hear like that, like they're getting ready to move the train. I could just tell. And, you know, I have 15 and I'm telling them, come on guys, just hustle. Cause I don't know what happened. Like back then I didn't know. Now I know what happens if you miss your train. But back then I didn't know. I didn't know you could just reschedule it. None of us speak Chinese. You have to go to the ticket. I mean, I just thought it would be a nightmare. So I jump on the train. And so Damon's like inside the train and they start closing the doors and people are just starting to get to the escalator because me and him had run down the stairs. So they start closing the door and I'm like, no. So like I push the door back open with my hand. So now finally like a couple of the people are hustling. So I'm holding the door open and I'm telling them like, just go under my arm. Right. I'm handing Damon the bags. We're throwing them on the train and everyone's just like going under. And then there was one person that, you know, let's just say they weren't extremely mobile, right? And so they came last. And by this time, there was like 2 Chinese ladies like holding my arm. They're like hanging on my arm, blowing a whistle in my face, telling me. And it had only been like 1 minute, but it was traumatizing.
Crazy.
And then we finally get on the train and like I don't know what you call them on a train, but let's say the stewardess, she's like crying and all this. And I'm like, what's I'm like, we only held it up like 1 minute, you know, but.
Well, it's China.
Yeah. And they're like, their precision is like right on it. So I learned. So here's another tip, you know, show up early to the train station when you go.
It's good to be early.
And we did a good job of that. You know, we didn't even come close to missing our train.
Well, that's why I say the last one was really smooth. So
yeah. And that's
trips and trips later.
That's right. Yeah. And, you know, you learn how to deal with the hotels and, you know, I've weeded through all the translators and now I have a really good team of translators that's there for us. And the sourcing agent has over 30 employees now. When I first met him, he had 3, right? So it was like, now there's 30 employees on the ground in China that help. And they're not my company, but they handle the entire inner circle. And that's what they focus on is just handling the inner circle and sourcing the product. So me and you were just talking about it, how you can also find your own product, but use the sourcing agent in China. And, you know, you kind of were looking before, you know, maybe a year ago when you were looking at products, like you were testing out different ways of getting those products here.
Yeah, it's actually really cool if you find the product yourself, either if you go to China or if you go to just on Alibaba. You can save money too, because you only pay them half if you find the product and supplier yourself.
Yeah, and that's another good point, right? Because you might see on Alibaba, you might find a really cool product, but chances are in China, they can either get better quality or a cheaper price for you. But if you just found the perfect manufacturer and everything's good, then instead of paying 10%, so let's say your first order is $3,000. Typically, you would pay $300 to the sourcing agent for coordinating shipping, doing quality control, all of that stuff, receiving the money so you're safe. You're not just like sending the money to someone. But you only pay 5% if you end up going with the manufacturer that you found on Alibaba. So that's pretty cool. If you guys are interested, if you want to come to China, we're just excited because we just got back from China and it's like so fun to talk about it and share the experience because, you know, we won't be going back for about 2.5 months. So if you want to be considered to come to China, it would be great. You know, that's why we do an application because it's not just going to China. We're all masterminding together and we're looking for the people that are going to be the right fit as not just people to learn, but be good contributors in terms of whatever your expertise is. You have to be willing to share and help each other because you're going to be leaning on each other. It's the people that go to China. It's like a year that some of them are bonded together for even till now from the trip a couple years ago. They still keep constant communication. So, you know, it's like you're going to find people that you align with and people that have the same goals as you and people that want to do exactly what you're doing, which is kind of fun. So if you go to
truecashflow.com
enter just your first name, your email. I'll send you some cool, I'll even send out a China video. So when you enter your name and your email, I'm having my editor just from the last trip put together like some cool clips and kind of show the experience, because people are always curious, you know, about China and how this whole sourcing thing works and why go to China and you certainly don't need to. And I want to make that clear, but you know, some people are just, they're all in. And if you're all in, there's no better way to experience this and really kickstart everything than going to China.
And see the quality too, because that's probably what I found the most, is that there are really high quality products in China. And it was really good to see that in person.
Yeah. And what about the packaging?
Yeah, that too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like, you know, you can get it like a hairbrush, but put in like an iPhone box, right? For $1.50, you know, with foam and like, it's like an amazing, like the box is like, I don't know about you guys, but like I have like 6 boxes like in my closet, like, you know, just from iPhones, but the Samsungs, right? Like those are amazing phones, right? Like, so I don't throw away the boxes. They come in like an amazing box, you know, but yeah, so I don't throw them away. And that's what you want, right? You want people to get your box and say, wow, this is a nice box. And they just don't want to throw it away because it seems valuable. So the China video, it'll be ready in just the next couple days. So if you go to the site, enter just your first name, your email. As soon as it's ready, I'll send it out to you. If you just want to kind of see what China's like, kind of see what the students were doing there, see what we were doing there, it was a really cool experience. And honestly, every single trip, it seems to get a little bit better, just because, you know, the more times you go, the better you get at showing people. It's like, it's weird. It feels like I would never say a second home, but it feels like a familiar place, right? Like I go there and I don't say I feel like I'm home, but I feel like, hey, yeah, I'm back in China. Like I feel good, right? Because I know the areas, I know where to eat, I know where to go. It's like there's certain restaurants I look forward to eating at. And that took about 5 trips, by the way, because the food is nothing exciting. But go to the site, enter just your first name, your email, and Saru will meet you on the other side.
You were listening to the True Cash Flow Podcast. If you would like our free training videos, go to truecashflow.com, enter just your first name and email address, and we will meet you on the other side. The information presented in this podcast is intended for your educational and informational purposes only. None of the statements contained in this podcast should be viewed as a prediction, guarantee, or promise that participating in our recommended programs will result in you generating a certain amount of income or achieving any level of monetary success. Success in any endeavor is based on a number of factors, including but not limited to hard work and capital resources. There are inherent risks in any business opportunity, and caution should be exercised before applying our information. You are encouraged to consult your attorney, CPA, or financial advisor before doing so.